Good morning. Today is Wednesday, March 26. This is Wake Up with KERA News, and I'm Andrew Garcia. There is a decent chance we'll see some thunderstorms through the early afternoon. Otherwise, it'll be mostly sunny, with temperatures in the lower 80s. 5 years after the beginning of COVID-19 in the U.S., North Texas is still feeling the toll of the pandemic. We'll hear how after today's news. The Texas Attorney General's office is investigating a proposed development meant to accommodate the North Texas Muslim community. Epic City is a planned development in Josephine, about 40 miles northeast of Dallas. The 400-acre development would include a new mosque, more than 1,000 homes, a faith-based school, and more. Ken Paxton is accusing developers of violating consumer protection laws. The National Medal of Honor Museum officially opened yesterday in the Arlington Entertainment District. Arlington Mayor Jim Ross said the city is the museum's home because of its support for veterans. Yesterday marked the 162nd anniversary of the first Medal of Honor. The museum houses guns, a Huey helicopter, letters, journals, and medals of honor. Five years since the start of the coronavirus pandemic, public health experts and people affected by the virus say there's still a lot to learn. However, cuts to research at the National Institutes of Health and growing vaccine skepticism have some worried about fighting future pandemics. KERA's Kaylee Broussard spoke to public health officials and people affected by COVID-19 about the road ahead.
So here we have our proclamation.
Rosie Davis walks around her Yellow Heart Memorial exhibit at the Irving Archives and Museum. It's an altar lined with the names and photos of hundreds of people who died from COVID-19.
So you can clearly see that there's families on here.
Davis lost her mother, Mary Castro, to COVID-19 in May 2020. She wasn't able to say goodbye to her in the hospital, and when Castro died, Davis couldn't bury her mother in the plot she bought in New Mexico. The Yellow Heart Memorial is Davis's way of remembering her mom. The exhibit also gives other people the space to remember their loved ones who died during a pandemic where people were not able to properly grieve.
Their grandmothers, grandfathers, their parents, friends, neighbors, aunts, uncles, they meant the world to somebody, to a family.
COVID-19 has killed more than 1.2 million Americans since the beginning of the pandemic. Millions more still live with the effects of long COVID. 5 years since cases began in the U.S., Davis says the country has neither learned from the pandemic nor prepared for future ones.
I feel like there's just so much. There's so much ground to cover, and no one is covering it at all.
Experts say misinformation and disinformation surrounding vaccines are a major factor. But the National Institutes of Health under the Trump administration has canceled grants related to vaccine hesitancy. NPR reported the agency also warned grant applicants to remove mentions of the mRNA vaccine technology that made COVID-19 vaccinations possible. Dr. Erin Carlson directs UT Arlington's graduate public health programs. She describes those cuts as a gut punch to global research.
When you have the world's biggest funder of biomedical research, the world is relying on a lot of that research that they and those who receive their funding are able to innovate. The world benefits from that.
Carlson says until public trust is restored in science, disruptions to research and the danger of preventable diseases will continue.
We will be less able to protect our families, we'll be less able to protect our country, we'll be less able to have the innovations that will help protect the world. And a lot of it goes back to misinformation and disinformation.
Carlson says the pandemic showed that people trust their communities and the physicians they see consistently.
We've learned that primary care providers are critical as far as being a believed and respected source of information. We've also learned, dovetailing with that people believe those in their own community.
Hospitals in the state are also working on rebuilding public trust through education and outreach. The Texas Hospital Association has also worked with state lawmakers to address violence towards healthcare workers.
While we may not be, the healthcare heroes that everybody saw during the pandemic, that we remain very committed to the communities we're in.
That'll be crucial for future pandemics. Some hospitals are using what they've learned as Texas and surrounding states contend with a measles outbreak. Steve Love of the DFW Hospital Council says North Texas hospital leaders have reconvened working groups started during the pandemic to plan for possible measles cases in the region.
The potential is there We hope it doesn't happen, but we could have some measles cases in North Texas.
Meanwhile, Rosie Davis says she'll continue advocating for people affected by COVID through the Yellow Heart Memorial.
I think it's important that we keep passing these stories down so that they're never forgotten.
Davis is also campaigning for permanent national monuments, with one in the works in Irving. That way, the conversation about the toll of COVID-19 can continue.
That was KERA's Kaylee Broussard reporting. The Stars go up against the Edmonton Oilers this evening. Hopefully they can notch a win against one of the league's best teams. The Mavericks, however, lost their game against the New York Knicks last night. They did win Monday night's game against the Brooklyn Nets, keeping hopes alive for a spot in the play-in tournament. They're just about a half game behind Phoenix, who currently holds the final spot. Explore a surreal world of color and form with immersive art by Pneuhaus in downtown Garland. You can find more information and other fun things to do at kera.org/calendar. Thanks so much for listening to Wake Up with KERA News. I'm your host, Andrew Garcia. This show is produced and edited by Shardae White and Bekah Morr. You can get some more news in your inbox by visiting kera.org/wakeup. That's where you can subscribe to the Wake Up with KERA News newsletter that's written by our colleague, Catherine Hobbs. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at KERATX. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you tomorrow.